Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live. I am so excited to be back with you today. I typically go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, but I have been out of town, so it has been a while since we have hung out. But I'm so excited to hang out and chat today to catch up on all of our things, my goals, my books, your books, and also kickstart our routine topic for the month of July. We have a lot to get to. So let's start with our first. I just clicked on the wrong thing. First question that we always start with, which is what is one small win that you have from the last week, from the last time that we talked, from whenever? I don't care what the time frame is. I want to hear about your wins. Even if you feel like they are small, I promise that those small wins are what adds up over time. So I want to hear from you in the comments. If you are here live, please say hello and let us know what your win is. And if you are part of the replay fam, please say hello in the comments and let us know what your win is there so that I can read through them. While I wait for some of the comments to pop up, my win is I spent 5 full days off of Instagram. I made a decision. We were out of town for almost 2 weeks in a bunch of different cities, doing a bunch of different things, some work, some play, some family. And the tail end of our trip was 5 days down in Corpus Christi, where my parents have a place. And I wanted to just take those 5 days to unplug. I cannot say it was the most restful 5 days of my life because going on vacation with a 10-month-old is still not fully a vacation. And it's this tough pull where I want to stay up late and hang out with my family, but then no, I'm still going to be getting up on her schedule. But either way, I knew I wanted to take some time off of social media, and I really, that's my win, is that I followed through on that. And also it felt really good. And you'll see the impact that definitely had on my reading goals for sure. So let's see. I see a couple comments popping up. Happy Wednesday. A small win. I got my July goals set up. They are exactly the same as my June goals. I love that. I think that was me from April to May or May to June. I had basically the exact same set of goals. Planned lunches for the week. I love that. I honestly haven't done a whole lot since I haven't finished Q3 planning. That's okay, Brittany. Plan when it makes sense for you. There's still so much time left in Q3. And I think you're probably inching towards that kind of nice second trimester energy. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with that Q3 planning. But you've gotten to see our bean twice since the last live, and my nausea is starting to subside. That is most definitely a win. When that nausea starts to get a little bit better. Hello from South Africa. Win for me was the setup of my guess is you clicked enter a little too fast. I want to hear what it was. Happy to catch a live. Welcome. Joined a book club. I love that, Michelle. Is it in person or is it a virtual one? Preserving food as soon as I take it out of the garden rather than putting it in the fridge for later. That is an awesome win. I love those. Happy to be back attending these lives. I'm so happy to see your face on my screen. I love it. Oh my gosh. So many familiar faces and names and excitement. I've got my iced coffee here. I would pretend this is I'm not going to tell you what number this is. I did not sleep well. All right. Making a phone, I'm assuming call about your retirement plan. I hate talking on the phone. I do too. If I can pass that job off to my husband, I most definitely will. In person with former colleagues. That's so awesome. All righty, y'all. Let's jump in. Because like I said, we got a lot to talk about today. So first things first, before we jump into books, I want to pop up the July calendar again. I know I shared it on the last live, but I want to just make sure that I pop it up since it's technically the first live of July, even though we are on day 10 of the month. The rest of the month is looking the same. The lives will always be on Wednesdays. There'll be a new YouTube video here for you on Mondays. And then the coaching calls kind of bounce between Mondays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays, kind of depending on everything that is going on in the month of July. All right, let's talk about books, y'all. I did it. I finished the second book in A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. I'm going to be honest. I have to look up the order every time. I don't know what the name of the books are that I'm reading. They're all so similar to me. I know A Court of Thorns and Roses is the first one, but after that, I couldn't tell you what any of them are. But I finished it, which was exciting. That is what I did a lot during my downtime while on vacation, as opposed to scrolling on Instagram. And it just kind of, even though I did have more downtime on vacation, resting while she napped, as opposed to trying to work or get household things done, it still reminded me of the amount of time that I spend scrolling on my phone. And if I spent that time on things like reading or what my goals, whatever it is, I could get a lot more done there. So I did really like it. I don't know that I like loved it. Again, I think I said this on the last live. I think there might have been a hype problem here. Kind of like with the Barbie movie where I like felt like there was so much hype and then everybody was talking about how they cried, and I was even pregnant when I saw it, and like I cry at movies a lot and didn't cry. I kind of feel that way about this one where like everybody kept talking about it was the like best book in the series, the best book they've ever read, and all these things. And it was good. It wasn't bad. But it wasn't, I think, as good as my head hyped it up to be. However, the ending was fantastic and immediately made me want to download and read the next one. And we happened to be on the plane home when I finished it, and I could not immediately. It should have anticipated that and downloaded the next one like with anticipation, but you never know with a 10-month-old if I was going to actually be able to read on the plane. So that is where I'm at. So I have obviously moved on to the next one, but I am only 3% of the way through it because I think I'm on chapter like 4, but it's like it's so long that's only 3%. I made a little bit of progress on my nonfiction book, which is The Gap and the Gain. I found myself reaching for fiction a lot more, even though I did take this book with me. I didn't reach for it as often, but I did read a little bit of it. And then I also made what I felt like was a lot of progress on my audiobook, which is Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. I listened to it a lot. Like anytime I was getting ready or packing or unpacking, which we moved places like 3 or 4 times. It was more than that. I don't know. I listened to it a lot, and I'm going to say only from the last time, because all of my little pop-ups, they save. So when I go to update the next one, the last one was there and it was at 46%, and now it's at 62. And I felt like I made way more progress than 15%, 60%, but it is what it is. So that is where I'm at on that book. So that is my book update. Feeling good. I think I'm at 17 for the year, which my goal was 20, but it was 20 specific books. And I'm at 17, but I'm not at 17 of those 20 specific books, if that makes sense. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more on a week where I feel like we have more time to chat. I'm going to check the comments really quick. You finished book 50 for the year. That is amazing, Sarah. I love that. Okay, let's do a monthly goal check-in. That is not it. Here it is. So here are where I'm at for my goals for the month. Not that far, because I didn't really start my goals until yesterday. I think I mentioned this in the goals video where I actually go through all of these in detail. If you haven't checked out that video, I did things a little bit differently this quarter. The videos last week, instead of doing like all the monthly stuff together and all the quarterly stuff together, I did June and Q2 together, and then I did Q3 in July. And my business goals are always included in my quarterly recap goals sections. But for personal goals, I said I was going to take the first week of July off. I wasn't going to worry about it. And I don't think I'd actually highlighted it yet, but I marked off all the weekly stuff for last week, and then I marked off all of the daily stuff. I have scheduled all the monthly stuff. They're in my calendar. I think I have a lot of them on this weekend. I don't know how I'm going to get to all of those this weekend, but I think I wanted to just schedule them earlier earlier in the month as possible, knowing that I can always push them back. And then I haven't done any of my weekly stuff yet this week. Those are all kind of weekend things, except I guess for the new meal. And now that I'm looking at that, y'all, I don't think I'm going to get to that this week because we already meal planned and shopped for the week. So, and I didn't include a new meal. I'm trying to think if I can pivot and make a switch to our plan for tonight to make it slightly new. I might be able to. And then my daily stuff, I started them a little bit, but not really. So I'll have more on this next week. It's not very exciting this week because for me, the month literally just started since I took the first week off. So that is where I'm at. Any questions, comments, things before I move into the routine topic? I remember that feeling with the Hunger Games. I finished the first and immediately purchased both of the others because I needed to know what happened. Yeah, it's always a good book right when it ends on a cliffhanger. And it was a good book. I just was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think I give it a 4 on Goodreads. I think if I could give half stars on Goodreads, I would maybe give it a 4.5. But to me, a 5-star review has to be really special. Like 5 stars for me has to be like everybody would benefit from reading this book in my mind. And I don't necessarily feel that way about the book. That's all. Okay. Ready? Let's talk about routines. Routines are a very, very common goal. I've had them. You've had them. Everyone's had them. It feels like I get asked about them all the time, whether it is about my goals or steps related routines. I mean, we talk about routines all the time around here. So I decided that for the rest of July, we're going to talk about routines. So the next 4 live chats will be all about routines. They all have their own kind of focus. This week, we're just like surface level routines 101 and kind of how routines and goals work together. And then the next 3 weeks will be all about other things. Designing routines is going to be the next week. Implementing is week 3. And then following through on routines when life gets in the way is week 4. So before we jump into talking about it, we have to start with a definition, which back when we had topics within the community, which is something that's recently changed, I pretty much always started week 1 with the definition of whatever the topic was, because we can glean so much from the definition of a word when it comes to our mindsets around that specific topic. So here's the definition of a routine: a sequence of actions regularly followed. So there's 2 components to that I've paused for a second. I want you to sink in. It's a sequence of actions, more than one action, multiple actions, regularly followed. Notice it does not say to do the exact same steps in the exact same order every single day or you have failed. That is not a routine. A routine does not have to mean you are doing the same thing in the same order every single day for the rest of your life. That's not how routines work. That's not what they are. Routines are a sequence of actions that are either important to you, give you a certain feeling, help prepare you for something that you follow on a somewhat regular basis. Whatever that regular basis may mean. You can have daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. There's all different types of routines. And it doesn't have to be every single day or every single week or month for it to be successful. So today, like I said, is going to be kind of surface level routines 101. I'm going to give you a couple of reminders about routines and how routines and goals work together. And then the following 3 weeks after that will be more of the nitty gritty. So number 1, implementing and sticking with a routine is not a small goal. Like I pointed out in the definition, it is a sequence of actions, multiple actions, more than one. That means it's not just a small step. I have been guilty of this as well, right? Where you decide, okay, today is the day, tomorrow's the day. I'm going to start a new morning routine. Here are the 10 steps that I'm going to do in my morning routine in this perfect order. It's going to take me this amount of time. You map out the amount of time. It's going to take me a total of this time. So I'm going to set my alarm for 5:45 a.m., which will give me all the time I need to do all these perfect steps and starting tomorrow. And you write down on your goals, AM routine. That's a lot of steps. Following through on all of those steps is not a small goal. Implementing and then sticking with a routine is a big step. It's a big goal. Now, that I'm not saying that to scare you and be like, it's hard and impossible, because it's not hard and impossible, but it is not a small goal. And I have always encouraged you to not put routine on your daily step unless it is something that you are already doing consistently and you are just holding yourself accountable to starting that routine in some capacity. Because I can't sit here and tell you I've never put blank routine on my goals, because I absolutely have. But if I'm starting a new routine from scratch, I'm not just going to put AM routine in the daily step section and think that it's going to be successful, because implementing and sticking with routine is not a small goal. I'm getting through these faster than I thought I would today, but I think that's because I know that like everything that's popping into my head of like additional things I want to say are notes that I've made for future weeks. Not that I can't repeat myself, but number 2, routines can absolutely help you achieve your goals, but they are not required. I am not going to sit here over the next 4 weeks and tell you that you have to have routines to be a successful human being, that you have to have routines to achieve all of your goals, that you have to have routines to be happy, because you don't. You absolutely do not. And depending on your personality, you may or may not like routines. They may or may not feel right to you. And so if you don't want, if you don't want to learn about routines, you're probably not sitting here listening to me at this point, 15 minutes into this video, but don't feel like you have to implement and stick with routines to achieve your goals. That's absolutely not the situation. However, they can help you achieve your goals because routines provide various structures that will help you follow through on the steps. They help you compound. I was trying to combine the words combine and compound each other. Combine steps and stack them on top of each other so that you actually follow through on the steps that you want to do to make progress on your goals. Routines can both be a supporter to your goals. They can be the goal themselves. There is no right or wrong. That's the other thing that I want you, I feel like I say this all the time, but I feel like I need to keep reminding you that there's no right or wrong in goals. I'm not sitting here saying this is the only way that you have to be successful, because there is not one way. There are lots of ways to achieve goals. There's lots of ways to be successful. And I am here to give you options and suggestions and things that I have learned both personally and helping others, but it isn't the end all be all option or situation. However, routines, whether it be weekly, daily, monthly, whatever, can support you in achieving your goals. Subset of this, you could have a routine to actually work on your goals. When I first started working on my goals and sharing them here on YouTube, if you remember, I need to go back and look at the first year that I shared my goals, because I think it was 2018. Could have been 17, could have been 19. I don't know. One of those years. I had a goal to work on my goals. Like, one of my goals was to use my power sheets and to work on my goals. And that looked like setting up a routine for my goals, checking in with it on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And it took me a while to realize the benefits of quarterly goal routines. But at the start, it was daily, weekly, and monthly. So they can help you and be supportive. But if they don't work for you, that's okay. The last reminder that I want to make sure that you hear before we start talking any kind of specifics on working on your routines is that your routines are going to be unique to your life and your goals. We are not going to sit here and say, this is what a perfect morning routine looks like, and this is what steps need to be a part of your evening routine, and here is the cleaning routine that you're going to implement, and here it no. Your routines and how they look, how they feel, how long they are, how short they are, how flexible they are, that is all going to be unique to your life and your goals. It also will change. I don't have this in here. I'm 99% sure I'm going to talk about changing your routines at some point in the next 4 weeks. But I feel like my routines are constantly in flux. And that was true before I even had a baby. My routines are always changing because something about my life is shifting, or something about the world around me is shifting. The weather, the seasons, work being busy, work being slow, my energy levels, whatever it is, impacts how my routines look and feel. The order in which I do my steps, how long I spend on each of the steps. Every time I film a morning or an evening routine video, which I will leave the latest ones linked down below if you're interested in those, I always want to throw in the caveat that those are mine, those are my routines, and yours don't need to look like mine for you to be successful. But pretty much right after I film them, something changes within a week. And I'm like, well, that is unfortunate. And so I also always add the caveat that is my routine in a snapshot in that moment in time. And because I'm filming it, most likely I'm going to do every step in the routine. And most days I don't. Most days I skip steps, and that's okay. But your routines are going to be unique to your life and your goals. And as we talk about routines and talk about specific examples and share things over the next 4 weeks, please, please, please. Now that that's a song, I feel like I immediately want to sing it, but you probably don't want to hear me sing it. Do not compare your routines to other people's. Everybody's life is different. Everybody's support system is different. Everybody's job requirements, energy levels, goals, whatever is different. You cannot compare your routines to anybody else's. So that is an important reminder as we talk over the next 4 weeks. So that is kind of the surface level. I just some brief reminders and to kind of prime us for the next 4 weeks. And I want to kick us off with a question I want you to share in the comments. If you're here live, you can totally put it in the live chat. I would love for you to come back and put it in the comments when the live is over, just so that I have them there to reference. But if you don't, that's okay too. But if you're watching the replay, please tell me in the comments, what is one routine that you wish you had? That's it. Just one. I don't need you to go into depth. I don't need you to give me an explanation of why you don't. That is not important. What I want is a plethora of examples that I can use in future weeks so that I can cater my examples to your specific routines and what you need. I can give you examples all day long of my own routines, but I've been doing that for 6 years on YouTube. You have probably heard about my routines enough. I want to give examples about your specific routines. So let me know in the comments, what are those routines so that I can reference them going forward. A good weekly cleaning routine. Okay, thanks. A communication routine. That's a very niche one that I have. Sorry, my chair is like sliding all over the place. An evening routine. Oh, yes. I almost missed this. And don't compare your current self to your past self. 1000%. Yeah, this is always true. Lots of cleaning routines. Meal planning. I feel that one. A morning routine to ensure I'm able to be productive, workout, Bible study before my day kicks off and I have to get the kids ready for school and work. I totally feel that. Another big factor to your routines and what they look and feel like is your what is it called? Like whether you're a morning or an evening person. But that if you're a morning person or an evening person, that is going to dictate a lot of what your routines look and feel like, because it is unrealistic if you are not a morning person to say, like, you might see this comment and be like, I am not going to get up before my kids and work out and Bible study and all these things before my kids wake up. Like, that's not me. And it doesn't need to be. You don't need to do that to be successful. But at the same time, as a morning person, I know myself that my evening routine has to be so minimal and so basic and only the necessities, or I will look at it and be like, forget this. I'm not doing any of this. I'm getting in bed and I'll do none of it. Oh, and maybe that's why I struggle. I am an evening person, but evenings are so busy as well, for sure. And that is when it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? So maybe you figure out, okay, are morning times really the only time? Like, what would it look like if you just shifted your bedtime back a little bit instead of getting up early to do those things before, right? Like, the hours are the hours. So if you're just shifting that a little bit, but then it also may be in this season of life, while you have to get the kids ready for school and get to work yourself and have sports in the evenings, that doing all of those things every day is not feasible. And you may have to alternate. Or you may have to shrink them down, right? You only have 30 minutes to commit. Maybe you want to do a 30-minute workout and a 30-minute Bible study, but you don't have necessarily time to do both. So you do 15 minutes of each, and that's better than nothing in this current phase of life. Also, phase, season, era, as the kids are saying these days, I know that those words have different meanings. I got a comment recently that they have different meanings. I understand that. I know that deep down and like in the true definition, they have different meanings. But if using one of those words for you feels better, use the word that feels good to you, even if it's not the true meaning of that word. That's all. A couple other routines. After school, AM and PM, 10K walk before healthy breakfast, before cleaning the 3 frogs of the day. Whew, that's a lot in the morning. I'm going to assume you are a morning person. Getting myself and my kid out the door for work childcare. Love that. I'm a substitute teacher and wanting a routine for the days I am headed off to work. that is, I also feel like for those of you who don't necessarily have a consistent something every single day, I talked recently in a video about having, I need a better word. I don't like the word trigger, but something, you know what I mean? That instigates that routine over a different one or over no routine when it's not the same every day. I think I have too many expectations of myself after dinner. Evening routine is definitely one I struggle with the most. Budgeting. Yep, that's also a super common one. That's a routine that people talk about a lot. I love it. I appreciate all of you sharing your examples. Keep them coming in the comments as you watch this video. If you think of anything, I want to use your specific examples and struggles over the next 4 weeks. Also, I'm sorry I keep touching my hair. I feel like I'm still not used to it, even though it's grown a lot because I got it cut what feels like forever ago. It was Mother's Day weekend. So it was like, what, 2 months ago? My morning routine is from 7:30 until 2. That is a long morning routine. Maybe instead of trigger, you can use prompt or spark. I like spark. That's a good one. Yeah. Kind of like what gets that ball rolling down the hill. All right. That is all that I have prepared for today. I'm very excited about the next 3 weeks. I know today wasn't a whole lot of like tangible takeaways. It was more to just get us primed and thinking about routines as we start to kick this off. So the rest of the time is yours. You are welcome to ask anything. It can be about your individual goals or struggles. I promise, even if you're like, well, no one else is going to care, that's okay. You're here. You get to ask that question. And I also promise you that everyone else will benefit from the answer. It can be about a specific topic. If you don't know how to phrase it into a question, you can say, put topic and whatever the topic is. Could be about something that I shared that you want me to dive deeper into, whatever's on your mind, whatever y'all want to chat about. The time is yours. Maybe do the good, better, best on your routine based on how much time you have. Say 1 hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. I definitely used to do this in some capacity when I had to be out the door for work at a specific time, pre-pandemic. But the other way that I've tackled this, and I can't remember if this is in any of my notes for the next 3 weeks, is having 1 or 2 steps that I call my like fluctuating steps. So they can be any length of time and I can adjust them based on how much time I have. One of those is always reading. If I had 5 minutes, I would read for 5 minutes. If I had 30 minutes, I'd read for 30 minutes. And that kind of fluctuated based on how much time I had. And working out's another good one to kind of adjust based on time. Whereas something like getting ready, I can rush through it, but it kind of takes me around the same amount of time every time. Oh, coffee. All right. What do you have questions about? What is on your mind? What are you struggling with? How are we feeling about July? As you saw with my goals, I haven't really done a whole lot in July, but what would you prioritize in terms of routines for someone who's going back to work this month after an 18-month maternity leave? Tell me you don't live in the US without telling me you don't live in the US. That's amazing. I want to be realistic and not burn myself out immediately. So I can't give you specifically which routines or which steps are going to be important to you because that is your life. I would ask yourself ask yourself the questions, which routines or which steps will help me feel better about this transition, right? Which things what things do you already do now that you're on maternity leave that you want to continue? Which things can you kind of let go of? What do you need to do now that you're going back to work? I would maybe start with now that I'm talking and I have more ideas. Ideas always come to me once I start talking. I would actually probably start with a brain dump of it's hard to prioritize without knowing what your options are. So I would probably start with a brain dump of all the things in my head. Like if you were mapping out your ideal routines and what that would look like when you go back to work. But like you said, you want to be realistic, and you know that if you like on the first day back, you tried to do all of them, it would probably not go so well. So I would start with getting them all out of your head and then ask yourself, it's kind of a play on the lazy genius question is what can I do now to make something easier later? Ask yourself what of these routines is going to make things easier? What is going to make things go smoother? You could also insert a different word if you want to say which of these things is going to make me more relaxed, which of these things is going to make me happier, which of these things is going to make me a better mom, better employee, whatever it is. But focus on not trying to answer with, well, they're all important, because that they're not. They can't, everything can't be important. There has to be something that's more of a priority than something else, and working on getting them ranked and then deciding what would feel better. Is it going all in on one routine and making that one really consistent first? Or would it be doing more than one and doing one step in 3 routines and getting consistent before you start adding on? The other suggestion I would make is to start thinking about it. I mean, you're obviously thinking about it now, but start considering maybe implementing some of those things now, right? So you aren't just flipping a switch on that day you go back to work, that you are kind of inching your way back. I will say, as hard as it was to not have a paid maternity leave, and I definitely felt myself struggling with, I don't want to use the word jealousy, but struggling when I would see other new moms being able to just be completely still off of work and focused on their house and their baby and themselves. And I was trying to get back into work. Being able to do it gradually was absolutely the best thing for all of us. And being able to do it in small chunks. And so you have a couple of weeks. I'm not saying go back to work right now, right? But like start implementing some of those routines and kind of a gradual build up so that when you do go back, you're not just like flipping a switch that day. Ooh, this is a good suggestion, Colleen. Sometimes block scheduling helps relieve pressure to complete a goal. If I can just do this one thing by lunch, as an example. Yeah, if I can do this by this, and have like a benchmark on your day of when you want to complete it by. You're welcome. I hope my stream of consciousness is helpful. I definitely am sometimes just say things coming out of my head. I'm struggling with the new habit of badging. I'm not sure what you mean by that, or if you meant to type budgeting, because I'm always distracted by the 2-minute tasks I see in between and have to use the MacBook all the time. And so I see all the other tasks while working. In general, or did you mean batching? Maybe that's the word that you meant. Either way, getting distracted by the 2-minute tasks. Couple of options. Number one, if those 2-minute tasks are there before you start whatever chunk of work you're trying to start, power through them, get them done. Sit there, set a timer, get through those 2-minute tasks. If they are popping up, batching similar tasks together. Okay, awesome. If those 2-minute tasks are popping up, number one, if you can hide them somehow, like I know you say you see all the other tasks, but if you can hide them so that you don't see them, whether that's like putting them on a different, I know the Macs have like different homepages, desktops, something like that. Or just like, if there's a way to mute that in some capacity. Now, if they're just popping up in your brain, there's not a way to do that. Or if you can't turn off them popping up, my suggestion will be you're setting a timer and you're working on your tasks that you're batching together. And then you have time scheduled to catch up on those 2-minute tasks. So that's another batching, right? Those 2-minute tasks, you have time to do those later. There is time on your schedule. You will get to them. And then you tell yourself when it pops up and you see it, and you might still get temporarily distracted, but you say, no 2-minute task. I have time scheduled later to work on you. Right now, I'm focused on this and I will get to you later. It reminds me very much like my communication routine, which if you've never heard me talk about this, is the routine that I do every day where I respond to all communication type things. So YouTube comments, Instagram DMs, texts from the community, Facebook comments, both within the community and just on my Plan with Laken page, and emails. And what I used to struggle with was seeing them pop up throughout the day and feeling like I wanted to respond to them in that moment, right? Like feeling like I needed to respond right away. And not even 2 minutes to respond, like 30 seconds, but it would still break up my focus from whatever it was I was working on. So I don't know where I came up with that idea or even how long I've been doing this, that I was like, I'm going to lump all that together and I am going to set aside time later in the day that I'm going to do that. And I know it's there. So even when I see texts pop up and comments pop up and DMs pop up throughout the day, my brain goes, you have time to answer those later. And that time will come and then you will do it. And it makes it just so much easier for my brain to be like, you don't have to do it right now in this moment. You're welcome. I hope that was helpful. I know it's easy to get distracted. What else? What other questions do you have? It doesn't have to be about routines, by the way. You can ask questions about literally anything. The topic of the week pertains to what I am talking about at the beginning of the live, but at this point, from this point forward, is just general Q&A, and you can ask questions about whatever is on your mind, whatever you have questions about. And if you're watching the replay and you're like, I can't ever join live because I'm working during the day, I'm whatever you have going on at this time of day, you are always welcome to leave questions in the comment section, and I will answer them on the following week's live. I mean, I will answer them in the comments if it's short and if my response can be typed out. But if it's something that I want to give like a verbal response to, I will add it to the next week's live. I used to do that a lot more consistently. Did I used to like post it on? Oh yeah, remember when I used to do a weekly Q&A on Instagram, and then I would save some of those for the live if I didn't think I could answer it in a story. Oh geez. It is very interesting how often we change our minds about things. I'm going on a tangent. And sometimes when we change our minds about things, I don't second guess it. And I'm like, no, that makes sense. Like I'm changing my mind and this is what I'm changing. And then there's other times that we want to change our mind about something and we very much like second guess it or give ourselves a hard time for changing our mind. No, you are always allowed to change your mind, always. And you can always change it back. Just like it's easy to change it, you can change it back. So if it doesn't work, if it doesn't go well, most things in life, you can undo it. And like when I'm thinking back to that weekly Q&A, and I think it worked for a while, and then I think I was getting like repetitive questions or very little questions, and then I was like, okay, this isn't working anymore. And now I'm over here like, maybe I bring it back. I don't know. Engagement on Instagram is very, very down. So I don't know. The number of people that actually view my stories is a much lower number than it used to be. All right, everyone's being quiet today. What's on your mind? What are you thinking about? Are we done? I am here for the next 20 minutes if you need anything. I wasn't even here last week. I clicked out of the comments. No? Going once? Going twice? Any other questions? Y'all, I can see how many people are here watching, and you're all being super quiet. Nobody has any questions. Monica, thanks for jumping in. So Monica sent me a text in the community texting that she kept writing the same goal over and over again. And it was spend time with friends and family for quarterly. And that she was getting bored writing the same things each quarter. Now, my first question for her, which she answered on her text, would be, do you need to have it on your goals? If you feel like you're getting bored writing the same thing over and over again, maybe you don't actually need it on your goals. And you are always, again, going back to what I just said about you're always allowed to change your mind, you're always allowed to add goals back on. So there might be a goal that you feel like you're not necessarily crushing, but it's going well. Like you're doing it consistently. So in Monica's situation, maybe she was feeling good about spending time with friends and family. And so she took it off her goals. And then maybe that quarter that she took it off, she realized like, okay, well, now I'm not prioritizing it as much. And so then the next quarter, she decides to put it back on. You are all like, if you watch my goal check-ins video, I do that all the time. I will take things off and I will put things back on. Because sometimes I'm just accountable to my goals more than anything else. Sometimes, most of the time. And so if I take it off my goals and I find myself dwindling at being consistent with whatever it is, if it's something that I want to continue, it wasn't a temporary thing, then you just put it back on. Now, if you do want to keep it, but you're feeling bored with the phrasing that you're using, I would go back to the definition of that goal. So go when at the very beginning of the year, so whatever piece of this quarterly goal is a bigger piece of for your year, go back to the definition and see if there's any words that jump out there that could help you get clarity on what this means. Like, when you say spend time with friends and family, do you want to spend time doing specific things? Do you want to spend more quality time talking? Do you want to spend time doing things outside? Do you want to spend time doing things that are good for your brains? Do you want to spend time trying new foods? Like what does that look like? And can you get more specific about what that time means and why that time is important to you? By the way, the topic for tonight's community call, like there's not a topic for the month, but I talk about a topic each week, like a 5-minute teaching section is about whys, and I'm really pumped about it. Anyway, squirrel. The other option that I said to her was to maybe get specific about the number of times. Like, I want to spend this amount of time. Do you want to spend time daily, weekly, monthly? Also, it is okay to write the same thing over and over again. Now, if you're getting bored and it's uninspiring you, then change it up. Change it up to make it look like something different. But know that you don't have to change your goals to make them mean anything more to you. There might be goals that you have on your list for, like, I don't want to say for the rest of your life, because like I hope that there are goals that you don't necessarily have on your list for the rest of your life. But goals sometimes might be boring. Like the phrasing might be boring, but if it helps you prioritize it, then tell the little person on your shoulder, the little tiny Monica that's saying that's boring. Be like, no, tiny person, I am prioritizing this. So I'm going to put the same phrase, and that's okay. But you could maybe build relationships too. You could totally change it. I'm thinking I may take off generic and then maybe tailor it to certain parts if it works with the quarter. I think that totally works. Again, and I think you can try something, and if you change your mind and it doesn't work for you, you just go back and try something different and add something different to it. It doesn't have to be, you're not committing to it for forever. You're committing to it not even for the next 3 months. You could change your mind if you really want to. And every quarter is going to look different. And I think, there was one year that I had spent time with friends and family on my goals too. And I didn't do anything specific for it, but like it just naturally happened a lot that month with other things I had going on. And so it was just like, yeah, I did it. but it was like those things were going to happen anyway, whether they were on my goals or not. And so it comes down to some quarters you might need to prioritize more, and some quarters you might not. And it will just happen, right? Like maybe around the holidays, it's just going to happen and you won't need to prioritize it. This is also a fun suggestion, identifying a person each month. I think I tried that once too, or I identified a person each quarter. I did like immediate family, and I did like siblings, and then I did like friends. I could also be making that up in my head. I feel like I heard in a past live about AM PM routines as bookending your day. What do you feel about that? I think it depends on what and we're going to talk all next week is about designing routines. If that is what is important to you about your routine, then I feel like it's great. If that is not the purpose of your routines, that is okay. It doesn't have to be. The bookends to your day is an option for AM and PM, but it doesn't have to be. I would say that that's neither of my routines. I would say for me, my AM routine purpose is getting things done while I have the most energy. It's not even, yes, it is the start to my day. So it does bookend my day, but that's not my purpose or my why behind my AM routine. My why is to get these things done while I have the most energy. My PM routine definitely doesn't bookend my day because I try to do it earlier in the evening. I definitely do not, which I did say on a live, that I kickstart my evening routine as soon as Lila's in bed, which depending on the day may or may not be me immediately getting into bed. And so it doesn't bookend my day at all. It is the purpose of, for me, again, my life unique, going back to reminder that your routines are specific to your life and your goals, is about prepping myself, setting myself up for success for the next day. So the handful of small things that I want to do in order to set myself up for success for the next day. And it may or may not be the bookend to my day on the other end. It may happen earlier before I go to bed. So for me, that is how I feel. I think it's a great option, but I think it is not a requirement. Now all these questions are coming in. Everybody is like, oh, someone asked a question and now we're all going to ask questions, and I love it. Okay. What are some of your favorite moments or highlights in each of the cities you visited on your trip? I also happen to know you live in Texas, so this is a fun question coming from you. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I didn't talk about this on YouTube anywhere. We went to Texas. We had an original trip booked to see my family, to celebrate my brother graduating from high school. And that trip was over 4th of July. It was going to be a combination of being at my parents' in San Antonio, but then also being at the house down in Corpus Christi. And that was booked a long time ago. And then Sam got invited to this really cool work event at the end of June in Dallas. And there were a lot of debates on how we were going to tackle that. He did get a +1. I have not gone in the past for various reasons, but I really wanted to go this time. So we figured it out and made it happen. So we started in Dallas. The highlight of Dallas was the event for sure. Dallas it was so hot. It was like, I don't know how it got cooler as we drove south, but Dallas was the hottest part of the whole trip. And it was probably the time that we were there, and we didn't have a car the first 2 days, and I just felt stranded with a 10-month-old, and it was hot, and that was a bummer. But the event was great and awesome. And then we drove down to Austin, and we saw so many people that we love that got to meet Lila for the first time. We got to see some of our friends' babies that we hadn't seen in a long time, and that was really lovely. And then we got to take Lila to campus, and that was absolutely amazing. If you don't know, both my husband and I went to the University of Texas, and so we got to take Lila there. It was also very hot though that day, and so it was not, we were going to like walk around. We were going to go to the sorority and fraternity houses and take pictures. And it was just, oh, of course, Charlie decided she needed to open the door, which means you might hear some background noise from the living room. Anyway, we were going to walk around a little bit more in Austin, but it was just too hot. But we did get a very cute picture in front of the main building on the UT's campus, which has also happened to be the shape of our wedding cake. And then we went to San Antonio. We weren't there very long before we headed down to Corpus. And I mean, the highlight there was just being able to like kind of relax a little bit and enjoy our family and our time down there. If you have been around in the summer of 2020, Sam and I actually went down and we drove down there and lived there for the summer to get out of our tiny New York apartment when we both started working from home. And so that house is kind of special to us in that regards. And so it was nice to have Lila there with us. So it was lovely. It was hot and exhausting, but great. What are some of the goals that you've enjoyed the most working towards? Whew. Off the cuff, the first thing that popped in my head was building a business that I could leave. Do you want to sit on my lap during this? That I could leave my full-time job for and have the flexibility to both work and spend a lot of time with my daughter. Maybe it wasn't always the most enjoyable at the time, but the outcome was most definitely the most enjoyable. Working on my reading over the years has also been a huge, huge enjoyment for me, and like getting back into enjoying reading and not just like doing it for school. Linda, I appreciate you putting your name in and being the example to put your name, even though I do know, did you all hear that? Oh my gosh. I've had a goal idea to participate in Vlogmas the past few years. I always chicken out because it seems overwhelming. What advice would you give for a first timer? So if you don't know what Vlogmas is, quick definition, in the month of December, it was started on YouTube years and years and years and years ago, where vloggers on YouTube would vlog every day in December, and they would try to upload in as real time as possible. You vlog for a day, and some upload later that same day. Some would just upload the next day. And it was a lot because advertising companies would pay more during the holiday season. And so it was a way to get more income. Now it has just become kind of a thing. And some channels have kept up with it, some haven't. I have done it every year that I have had a YouTube channel, and it has looked different almost every single year. There's been some tweak that has been different. And so my advice for a first timer, number one, the first time I did it, I had pre-recorded videos that I filmed in advance. And depending on, not necessarily you specifically, Linda, but in general, those thinking about attempting Vlogmas, if you can do some sort of pre-recorded, even if it's just one video of the week or two, to give you that little bit of buffer or that reprieve that you're not trying to upload every single vlog, that would be recommendation number one. I never did the vlog per day and upload per day until I had an editor. So I can't claim that I've ever done that piece on my own because I don't know if I could. I had always pre-recorded in the past, but I also never did it while working full-time for myself. I always did it like before I had an editor, right? I also had a corporate job. And so there was definitely not time for me to vlog and upload that video every day without doing something in October and November. However, if you are going to attempt the true like vlog and then upload it, you don't have to make them super long. They do not need to be hour-long vlogs. Keep it short. Keep it to the highlights. Keep it to the things you really want to share that day. Cut stuff out if you don't want to share it. Like, it doesn't have to be every single detail. You're going to be vlogging every day for a month or 25 days, depending on how you tackle it. You're going to show different things. So like, you don't need to show your breakfast every day, right? You don't need to get ready every day. And then the last thing is, I lost my train of thought. Oh, have a hit list of ideas of things that you might want to share or talk about. So if there is a day that kind of feels like it's on the lull, you have an idea of things that you might want to share. I do that every single year. And they're the same every year. Like, one time I want to show my AM routine, one time I want to show my PM routine, etc. So those are my like big hitter suggestions. Last thing I'll say though, you will never know how you feel about it until you try. You can try and logic your way in or out of it all the time. If it is something that you want to work on, give it a go. What are some goals that people you have helped have experienced the most joy with? Tiffany, I feel like this is so tough because different things bring different people joy. And there's so many factors to what makes people happy, that I don't even know if I can think of like, I don't even know. And I feel like we're running out of time. This is a question I want to think on a little bit more, and I'll come up with an answer for you. Planning your wedding and honeymoon was enjoyable to watch from our end. Oh, thank you. I feel like I did a terrible job of sharing all of that on my side. Random question, but are your nails press on or are they your natural nails? They are actually press on. I am trying these brand because my stepmom recommended it, and I put them on yesterday, and I'm not sure how I feel about them, to be totally honest. I don't know how I feel about them. I'm very distracted by them, and I am not holding out hope that they're going to stay on, but they work for my stepmom, so we'll see. I've never tried press on nails before. Like, and this one I did a terrible job. Look, what is? I just heard my sister's voice, y'all. I didn't know she was coming today. All right. With that, let's wrap this up. I feel like today was a little bit all over the place. Thank you for bearing with me as I try to get back into the groove after being out of town for almost 2 weeks. I appreciate it very much. Let's wrap it up with my final question. What is one thing that you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? What is the one step you're going to take? It doesn't have to be huge, but what is the one step that you are going to prioritize in the next 7 days to make progress? My one thing is related to both the topic and actually where I'm at in my life. And that is continuing to remind myself that even part of the routine is helpful. I have said this before, and you're going to hear me say it again before the month is up. When I'm out of town, I like to give myself the same amount of time I was gone to get back into my routines. And so it might take me the rest of the month, frankly, to get back into my routines. And that includes all of them: morning, evening, weekly, cleaning, all of the things. And yesterday, even, I found myself getting like hard on myself, like, oh, typically on Tuesdays I do this, but I was also playing catch up and doing Monday's thing. And it's like, it's okay. One step is better than nothing. And part of it is helpful. So let's see what else everyone is up to. Interested to hear your review. As a mom to a young child, constantly washing my hands. Yeah, I will let y'all know if it works for me. To be honest, the only thing that ever works for me is gel from the salon. And it's expensive, and I don't like taking the time to go. So that's what's worked for me. Brain dump on what routines what I'd like routines to be like when I am going back to work. Brain dump all your tasks and prioritize them. Finish your Notion setup. Schedule appointment with new doctor. Have a separate 2-minute task working hour after your frogs. I love that. I'm going to rework, simplify my routines. This put an itch in me to try to make my evening routine less complicated and move some of those things to the morning. Prepping for tech week and prioritizing rest. I love it. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, I will be here every Wednesday. Now, we're not going out of town for a while. So, I'll be here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. for a while. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate that. And if you are new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching.